It's going to be a busy next few weeks, months in terms of the NFL season. It officially begins next week, March 12th, and we have the perfect guy to talk all things Commanders, get us up to speed. Lake Lewis Jr., our NFL insider. Lake, good to see you. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How about yourself, Nat?
Doing well. Good to see you. And yes, you had a very busy last week because you were actually in Indianapolis for the NFL Draft Combine. Let's start there. A great place to start. How was it? What did you kind of witness and everything that went down in Indy?
It was good. It was probably the first time since I've been going there. It's probably like I think like my 11th visit to Indy for the draft combine. But this was the first time that we were getting love, and I mean we as Washington media. Everything there was a positive buzz about the Commanders, and people were like, "Congratulations on the season!" and "Oh my gosh, you guys got Jade Daniels." So it was just a lot of positive buzz there, and I wasn't the only person that was noticing or saying this. A lot of our other media brethren, were saying that. Candy Waller, a good friend of ours, she was with me when we were in one of the hotels, and lady walked up and said, "Hey, Commander." And I looked at her and said, "Oh, you know who that is?" And she said, "I was about to ask you the same thing." So it was all love there.
Oh, that's incredible. And just, I mean, those are the things, I mean, everyone goes obviously to see the players, hear from the GM and the head coach, but those are the things, you have to be there to witness. And that's just so incredible that that was one of the things that stood out to you from last week. Now, we did hear from head coach Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. Both of them were on the podium. You heard from them kind of one-on-one, speaking with local media as well. Anything that stood out to you about those conversations? I know they touched a lot on, the players they're looking for, specific needs. What can you tell us in that regard?
Yeah, it was like the same message. Adam spoke first, and then on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, Dan spoke, or Coach Quinn spoke, and the message was the same. The type of players that they're going to interview while they were there in Indy, the type of person that they're looking for, and the prevailing theme was leadership. They're looking for guys that ooze leadership. That I think if you go back to last year's draft class, a lot of those guys were team captains. So I think, it's all about the culture in the locker room, Natalie, and all the things that they want to make sure stay in play. So it was just a prevailing theme. Everyone, Lance Newmark spoke to us as well, and he said the same exact thing. So it was almost like they had a copy of the same sheet of paper. It was just a universal message. And, they look for guys that just want to, eat, sleep, and breathe football. And that's all they want to do. And that's clearly the path that they're going in.
So first and foremost, needs on this Washington Commanders roster. What do you think they need to address in this year's draft? And then two, any players that really caught your eye while you did take in that draft or the drills portion of the draft combine?
Yeah, there were several guys that I think that this team could use, and although they went to the NFC Championship, Natalie, they still have several need areas. I think the running backs in this combine showed themselves to be fast, able to be more elusive than what's on the roster now in Washington. So perhaps they can take a look at, say, like a guy like Amarion Hampton. If he falls, he's at North Carolina. I doubt he'll be there at 29, but maybe you can move up a little bit. There's a kid Sampson from Tennessee who I like as well. So there's several guys out there. Travion Henderson from Ohio State probably will be there more than likely at 29. But do you want to take a running back in the first round when you just saw what the Philadelphia Eagles did to the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as to for the Washington Commanders? They bludgeon people up front, in the trenches on offense and defense. And I think if you're Washington, you probably have to look at someone on the defensive line or the offensive line, and I think that that's the way they're going to go unless one of these, supreme skill guys falls to 29. I think that they're going to go, maybe an offensive tackle if one is sitting there, and then maybe you move Brandon Coleman inside the guard. And we have to remember Sam Cosmi is going to be out for, a while. So, they're almost like in a situation where they need to get two offensive linemen for one. So I do think they're going to attack the trenches.
Let's though switch over to something that was also the big talker of this past weekend, and that was the fact that Deebo Samuel, it appears he is going to be donning the burgundy and gold. And I say appears just because it can't officially become processed until that league year begins on March 12th. How does he fit into the offense, the brand of football that Quinn and Adam Peters have not only truly established in year one, but now can take that extra step here in year two?
So I think in year two, it's going to be important to just, keep building, but keep allowing for the locker room to set itself. to self-police itself, and high character guys in there. And a guy like Deebo comes in, he knows Adam Peters, and yeah, he did have his worst season last year, but I'd like to tell people his best season came when they were fully healthy, and that was 3 years ago, and they went to the Super Bowl. Last year, in his worst season, he was pretty much the only guy that remained healthy all year.
Yeah, and speaking of game plan now, I mean, he is going to be another weapon for Jaden Daniels, regardless of whether he's targeted 5, 10 times a game or not. How does he kind of, alleviate a little bit of that pressure for Daniels now heading into his sophomore year, where a lot of people, anticipate a little bit of a sophomore slump, maybe not specifically with Daniels, but just any quarterback that enters year two? How do you see him impacting Jaden's play?
I think it takes a huge burden off of Jaden to always have to have that Superman cape on. Where Deebo Samuel is a different type of player because he's versatile. He's a guy that, you can line up on the outside. He's a guy that can work underneath in the slot. And he's also a guy that you can put in the backfield too. So I think bringing him on helps Jaden quite a bit. It helps Terry. It helps the run game. But I don't think they're done. I mean, I still think they're going to draft a wide receiver, and I still think they're going to sign a veteran wide receiver as well. So this isn't done. This is just the first part of the ingredients going into the soup.
Oh, yeah. We'll be talking in the weeks to come, in terms of when we inch closer to the draft and, so much to talk about, but we're going to leave it there for today. Lake Lewis Jr., thank you so much. We appreciate you.
All right. Appreciate it, Natalie. Good seeing you.
Good to see you. All right. Stay with us. More Toyota Sports Talk.